Hey, this is Alexis with AIC Home Solutions. The purpose of this video is just for professional purposes, professional development purposes, and training for our internal team. But just like our other videos that we're sharing, we want to give this access to the community at large in order for you guys to take some things that you can implement in your own business. So the purpose of this video is for us to go and review the inbound lead system that we have in place for anything that's PPC related or any leads that's coming into our system. And we do want to like zoom into this and kind of do an overview of how the system looks like before we get into the script. So the first thing, right, the main thing is that you have a marketing channel that's going to be inbound into your system. And so the leads will come in. We do have a set introduction that every single one of our closers has when entering the call. Obviously, at this point, we've had our lead managers kind of get the principal conversation, but now we're going into the discovery call to be able to put an offer into this property. So the introduction is very key. We have a very precise way of doing that in order for us to all sound very similar and represent the company that we are calling from, letting them know our name, introducing ourselves to the seller, and already creating that rapport in order for them to have that confidence going into the call. From there, we do very meticulously. We do ask in a very particular way for the seller to confirm the address, and we look at the notes, right? Because we want to make sure, one, the first purpose is for us to give the initial task to the seller to see how engaged they are in the conversation already from the beginning. And so, just making sure that we always confirm, not only for that first test that we're giving the seller and for them to give us that response back, but also just to confirm for accuracy. After doing that, ensuring that we have the same subject home, we do go into this section where it's more of like a question master mode, really figuring out if they're living in that home, if this is a home that they have as a rental property, or if they've inherited this property. This allows you to get some very important information, which addresses the main two pillars that we believe in a company to be motivation and timeline. And also here right away, you're getting to the point. If you've checked, your software such as PropStream, and you already seen that there is multiple people on title, or even if there's one person on title per the software, you are just ensuring that there's nobody else that's going to be a decision maker when it comes to the sale of this home, right? And through this question master section, as you're listening, right, very closely for the tone, for engagement, and if they're answering or resisting your questions, you're really asking yourself as the individual, as the buyer, right, calling them, and the self-thought process that you have to have is really like these two questions: is there really a problem that I could resolve, that there's to solve here? And then the second one is there a sense of urgency for this problem to be resolved, right? Because this would really tell us, like, again, the real motivation, right? We're going deeper into that. And at the same time, we're figuring out, is this something that is super urgent and we got to get ready to engage in this purchase of this home? And that allows you to kind of see where the seller's at. Once you do that, then you could go into price, right? Because now they've discovered a lot of things. You've been able to figure out also the condition of the home at this part, and then now you get into the price, right? Really mirroring what is happening in the seller's mind. What is it that they're looking to get, right? And then asking them a series of questions there, like how is it that they're getting into that number, and just kind of listening in from that. Once you get a price out of them, that's the main objective, kind of see where they're at, and then you're already doing preliminary investigation and due diligence, right? You're able to figure out, man, is this something that's super far and unrealistic, or are we, somewhere in a vicinity where we could now start negotiating? But we do ask a very key question, And the question is, I'm assuming you will need the proceeds of this sale for your next steps, right? And this is a very critical question because oftentimes, some sellers really are in need of the cash, right? Like it's a financial situation where they need the proceeds of the sale to get going or get moving with the next steps. But there are often times where that's not the case. This is more, it could be a rental property. They're just tired landlords. They're tired of um, taking care of things on their own, or sometimes they don't have the systems or the processes for them to be able to handle that from sometimes away from the subject home, or even if they're in the same city, they just are tired of it, right? So based on that question, there's one of two options, right? Either yes, I do need the proceeds of this sale to move on to the next steps of my life, and if that's the case, you kind of are limited, or there's a higher um, reason to go with a cash offer or a retail buyer program, right? So it is when you understand that that's kind of where they've shifted themselves into in the side of the system. Here's what we kind of are asking. You've already asked some questions on condition by this point, but at the same time, that's something that the seller is telling you. You got to start now confirming that, right? And what we do in our team is that we go straight into requesting 25 to 30 clear photos. And we do have a text template that we have and we send right after, just because we want to set the standard and the expectation of what these photos should look like, because that's very critical. Sometimes they send you blurry pictures, or there's like their hand and their finger are in front of the camera, so that doesn't really help anybody. So that serves two purposes. One, for us to really confirm that what they've told us as far as the condition is accurate, right? As looking at these pictures, and we even ask sometimes for videos right off the bat, as a reason why we do that, right? We use a third party story, letting them know that, typically in the past, the way we've been able to give our clients the highest offer possible is that they provided those clear pictures in the videos, because that's what our underwriter needs in order for them to feel comfortable with giving a firm offer that they could depend on, right? And so that sometimes comes with the resistance, and we go to the third party story. Sometimes they're very cooperative and they understand right off the bat. I like to usually use the third party regardless, honestly, because it gives them context as to why we're requesting these pictures. And then I go straight to the expectation again. When can I expect these pictures from you? Like right after our call or later today, right? Like he's pushing the sense of urgency forward in order for them for us to see also, like, are they serious? Are they in a time crunch? Are they having a sense of urgency to make the sale? Because if that's not the case, then there's always going to be resistance or hurdles you're going to have to overcome, because just the time is not right, right? So from there, we let them know, thank you, that as soon as we get those pictures, I'll be making sure that I submit your file and confirm with their underwriters as far as what the offer will look like for you. And then it is from here when we actually go straight to our RVP, retail buyer program, or creative mini pitch, just to know, like, if the cash offer wouldn't work, can we bring in different options already with the same submission, right, of this file, um, for them to have various options depending on it. And so for the RVP created mini pitch, it says, would it be okay, Mr. Seller, Mr. Mrs. Seller, would it be okay with you if I submit your file for all possible programs your property could qualify for? Perhaps there's another program that can yield a higher net offer. Would that be okay with you, Mr. or Mrs. Seller? And then a lot of times they sometimes that's like, well, what does that look like? And we go further in our script with that. But sometimes they're like, oh, there's a way for me to possibly get a higher net number. And I would say 8 out of 10 times they're usually open to it. And so when you do that, now you've gotten permission from the seller to be able to come back not only with the cash offer, which was what they entered the the through the door with, right, with that request, but also they're coming out with more options that may be more beneficial to their net profit. So by doing that,
you're opening up that option, and then from there, once you get that confirmation and that permission, that's when you could finalize and confirm the next appointment. Most often we want to make sure that we set the appointment later that day. Mr. Seller, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what time can I call you back later today, where I could give you, a response back based on our underwriter, right? And then sometimes it is based on the pictures, but if the numbers are close and the softwares, are dictating that we're kind of in the money or near the money, then we want to make sure that we do move forward, begin running numbers, and attend the closing appointment for us to make that close the same exact day. And then if the pictures are not pending, obviously you're making that close, um, contingent upon contingent upon the condition of the home being as said by the seller, and then being confirmed by the photos. And then what we do in our appointment, so once we do that, and let's say like the cash offer or the retail buyer program is not a go for whatever reason, then we want to make sure that we have another option for us to go with the seller, right, and explore. So if the cash offer, right, or the RVP offer does not work, then what we do is we go back, kind of like, I'm assuming you right based on that answer. I'm assuming you will need the proceeds of the sale, even though sometimes they're like, no, you want to take them through the cash and RVP because that's more immediate. Most people are looking to get it for more immediate cash, or a net number within 30 to 45 business days. But the other question, right, that will allow us to kind of see if there's a possible option is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know that the cash offer and the retail buyer program did not work. It's not meeting your expectation of where you want to be. Let me ask you this. Do you happen to have an existing mortgage in place? And then again, one or two options is going to happen. Either, yes, I do have a mortgage. And then, it's like, well, if there was a way for me to come up to your number, right, where I could give you that number that you're looking for, are you open to a creative solution? And a lot of times, like, well, what does that look like? And then that's when, in this case, you could take over the payments as an agreement for sale so that the deed is not transferred. You could do a hybrid subject to, and then given a payment on the equity that they have left, an option to buy, or even a tenant buyer program, right? And then that one is a flow chart within itself. But let's say there isn't a mortgage, right? Then we do have owner financing, also known as seller finance, right? But a lot of sellers, we've seen that they kind of use owner finance, and again, what does that look like? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I mean, the beauty of this is that we could get you a net number. However, when it comes to these other terms, right? If I could make you equal monthly payments, and get you to that number, how long would you have to give me in order for me to pay that off? And then that kind of starts another conversation. But in order for you to go deeper, you would have to look at the owner finance flow chart, and then again send the agreement in order for, once you've met on the terms, then you're able to close that deal, and hopefully you've got to yield them the higher number that we're looking for. But now, obviously, you have to create the terms to make it a win-win situation for both parties. Again, this is our flow chart. And then the last thing is, throughout this conversation, what one of the biggest things that we want to make sure is that we have our listening ears on. It's so critical that you have your listening ears on throughout the whole conversation, because you know the when you're face to face, there's body language that you could read, obviously tone, modalities like hand gestures, etc. But when you're on the phone, the main thing that you're leaning on is how are they responding to the questions, right? So what's the tone, and then like asking yourself these three questions as you're navigating the call is the seller engaged, right? Is the seller answering or resisting my questions? And is the seller matching my energy, or do I have to match the energy of the seller in order for us to get to a consensus, right? But this is what we use. Hope this is helpful as a like kind of overarching video, and then we were gonna go deeper into an actual call and seeing how that looks like with the script at hand. Hope this helps. Hope this helps, and then just looking forward to the next video.